Good evening, everybody. My name is Robert Bull, and this evening we're going to start a webinar. And this webinar is called College Funding Alternatives. There's so many different issues that we have to evaluate when it looks at funding the education of our children, especially our college education. And as we all know, this is not something that is extremely cheap to handle. So what are we going to do about that? Well, let's see. Let's look at different options. And we're going to look at these options as they come down. And first, we're going to start with a disclaimer. And the first disclaimer that we must deal with is, number one, I am not a dealer broker. Investor needs brokers to do their options and trading. Please be aware that there are risks in the market. Also, I want you to know that I cannot be liable for any investment decisions you make. We are not going to be speaking about a lot of investments here, but we will be covering some investment strategies. So just to be sure, we'll make sure everybody knows that disclaimer. Now, college funding plans. Essentially what we're talking about right now is saving today for our lovely children's future. Here's a little kid here. He's getting ready to go to college, or at least mom and dad are getting ready to start funding his college education. So let's have a look at different facts, and these are just the reality of what's going on today. College tuition has been raising and increasing at a rate of about 5 to 6% per year, way above inflation. And also, state funding is becoming uncertain. Some schools have done away with prepaid plans. Florida still has a prepaid college funding plan, and college financial aid programs, there are some issues about them also going forward. Some people use the stock market, and as we know, that's unpredictable and inherently risky. I think if you are starting college right now with the market at all-time highs, I think your dad would be very happy. But if you're starting college in 2008, 2009 with the market crashing, that'll be a slightly different problem. So what we're really looking at is that there are some risks into having money in the market looking for college. We don't know the timing factor. And there's also inflation risks as well. If we look what has happened with college education and what's going on, a professional degree, which would mean a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, one of these professional degrees, they tend to earn over a lifetime $3.2 million more than the average student and the average graduate. So here's a difference of what we can expect going forward. High school kids today, just straight high school, they may be making close to 30. If you just have an AA degree, about, let's say almost 40. The bachelor's degree today, when you get out of college, 45, 50, maybe 60. Some obviously are different, but when you have a professional degree, like an engineering degree or whatever, you're going to start off with more than $100,000. Huge difference, and this is based on the U.S. Census Bureau information. So you can't force your child to become a lawyer or an accountant. You really can't force your child to graduate from high school and go to get his AA. We just don't know what's going to happen. But clearly, the more education you have, the better income you're going to be making. If we look at the costs of college, and this is a shocking thing. The kid right now, at the age of 18, getting into college, starting in, say, 2016, which is last year actually, to 2020, it's going to cost them around $73,000. If it goes in-state, if it goes out-state, $100,000, and if it goes private, $160,000, and that obviously presumes that he does not go to Harvard. If you look at a little kid, just born today, or last year, or whatever, his public school education is going to cost $160,000. If he's out of state, it's going to be $240,000. And if he goes to private school, you're going to need at least $300,000 to get the kid through school, assuming, obviously, that he does not go to the most expensive Ivy League schools, just a regular private school. So those poor children who go to school without a college funding plan, they end up smothered in debt. Student debt right now is one of the highest debts there are. And the problem we have for poor students is they can get into this terrible debt. And that debt is not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So in other words, a kid could get into debt, come up with 40, 50. Imagine the kids who go on to get their medical degrees. They graduate sometimes with $150,000, $200,000 worth of debt. So the issue that they're going to face is when they graduate, they're going to have a tremendous debt to pay back. Obviously, many kids will have less. Some people have $35,000, but still start off life with $35,000 in debt is a problem. Who's going to pay for the debt? Well, some parents will even co-sign their children's student debt. We strongly recommend against doing that, because should you co-sign a debt, a student debt, and the student for whatever reason doesn't pay, guess what? Mom and dad, when they're getting ready for retirement, bingo, they're going to get hit with a huge bill because they co-signed if the child did not pay. So I do not recommend that you co-sign any student debts for your children. Now let's look at the different fund plans that are out there. There are 529 plans. Many of you may have heard about it. There's an educational IRA, also known as a Coverdell IRA. Some people have not heard about these. There's a United Gift to Minors Act and United Trust to Minors Act. These are essentially when you gift the money to your child. That's what existed when I had my children very young. There's Merit Aid in Florida. There's even something called Bright Futures and other things like that. There's prepaid college plans. In Florida, we have the prepaid college plans, and there's also insurance-based funding. Well, given these options, I'd like to ask everybody if they kindly let me know a poll. I would like to ask a question which is, what are you doing today to manage and plan your children's education college funding? Are you using a Florida prepay? Are you using a 529? Do you have a Coverdell IRA? Have you gifted kids to their children? Are you hoping and praying for a scholarship? Maybe Junior will be a big football player. So you can do them all. Choose anyone you choose. You put choose. Just do me a favor. Doesn't matter. There's no right answer here. Just go ahead and send me what you think. And once everybody's voted, I'll be able to say, okay, we've got that going on, which is fine for me. It's okay. So let me see what we got going on there. Just 1 second. I want to get that poll out of here. I'm going to share this, share the screen, and just 1 second, please. Okay, guys, so we're ready to go. Okay, so what do you have up on the screen right now? Let's see what we've got going there. Okay, everybody voted. Okay, we gotta stop the voting now. Now we gotta get ready. Okay, so here we've got our college funding plans, and let's see what happens with them. Okay, so let's go over them all. Let's go 529 plan. This is the plan that you take out in a brokerage house or somewhere. You're able to put money into this plan, and essentially whatever income is generated from that plan grows tax deferred until the children are ready to go to school. It's what they call qualified withdrawals that are free of income tax. So you can set up this plan, and generally they're based into stocks or bonds or indices and things like that. And the plan is the name of a specific child. It could be Mary, Susie, whoever you choose. And you're able to donate money into that plan, and hopefully you choose the right investments for that plan to grow. And then you can use that plan for the graduation. This gift is irrevocable. Once you put the money into the plan, if for whatever reason a child doesn't go to school or whatever the case may be, we got a little bit of a problem there. And so once you put the money in the plan, that's it. That's for that child's plan. That one is very specifically denominated for that child. If the child wants to apply for financial aid, which is many people do, 35% of the money at the moment you apply for the financial aid will be included in what's called the Student's Needs-Based Financial Aid Eligibility. In other words, part of this money will count towards the assets that the family has. As I said earlier, the funds can be invested in stocks and bonds and mutual funds, and they're all subject to market volatility. Heaven forbid that right before the child goes to school, the market crashes, and we have a problem. But if it doesn't, it doesn't matter. It's there. Now, there are contribution limits. The contributions are, as today, the gift tax. You don't want to get into gift tax issues. Each person, in other words, the mother can donate $14,000. The father can donate $14,000 into that child's 529 plan. If you have 20 years until the kid goes to college, it wouldn't be a problem. At 10 years, and you're each putting in $14,000, you'd have $280,000 plus whatever happened to that plan in regards to investment returns. The educational IRA, well, this is one that many people are familiar with. It's also known as the Coverdell IRA. The parent or a grandparent or somebody else can contribute up to $2,000 per year per person contributing. There are no deductions for the contribution like in a regular IRA. You just put it in after tax. The earnings, similar to an IRA, a Roth IRA or an IRA, they're not taxed if you follow the rules. And the rules are you take the money out for educational purposes. By the way, these funds can be used not only for college, but you can use them for kindergarten, grade school, all the way through college. So there's not directly has to be in college. And then when we look at this again, just like the last one, 35% of the cumulative money at the moment the kid's going to go to school, your child's going to go to school, will be counted into what's called the student's needs financial eligibility. So they'll measure out the child's assets or the parent's assets, both are counted going forward. And as I said earlier, it is also subject to market volatility. The Uniform Gift for Minors, or the Uniform Trust for Minors Act. When my children went to school, this was basically the only thing there was. And essentially, you set up a custodial account where the manager, the father, mother, whatever the case may be, somebody is the overseer and has fiduciary responsibilities over these funds. You are responsible for managing these funds. The money put in is no tax. It's not tax deductible. You just put the money in, and you can donate up to $14,000 a year, as you see a couple points below. And it is taxed at the child's rate up to a certain point, and from then on, it's taxed at the father's rate or the mother's rate, the parents, if you're finally jointly the joint rate. I think it's the first $6,000 is taxed at the child's rate, and then from then on, it's taxed at the adult's rate. Here again, it's considered a financial asset for the child because the child is given to the child. You cannot take it away. It's a custodial account. It belongs to the child. And 35% of these assets are also included in the student's need-based financial aid eligibility calculation. Maximum, again, is $14,000 per year per parent or grandparent, aunt, uncle. And the money can be used, get a load of this one, for any reason by the child once the child hits majority age, because you are the trustee to a minor, a gift to a minor, but the moment the minor is no longer a minor, it's their money. And if little Johnny decides to buy, a Jaguar or a Corvette or whatever he wants to drive or go around the world, they can take the money and do whatever they want. I presume most children, my children luckily did not do that, and I think most children would not do that. But the fact of the matter is the child becomes the owner of the account at the age of consent, which is either 18 or 21, depending on the state that you live in. You as the manager or the overseer of the account, you cannot change the beneficiary of the account. In other words, if you give this to your daughter, Susie, it's Susie's money forever. She doesn't go to college, doesn't matter. It's hers, period. So you cannot change this money. If the custodian dies before the age of consent, then the assets are included in the custodian's estate. They're part of the custodian's estate, even though they're a gift to the child, because it will then become part of the adult's estate tax. And like in the other ones, it is also subject to market volatility. Then there are also certain saving bonds, qualified saving bonds. Earnings are exempt to the extent qualified that they qualify for higher education. That they exceed withdrawals. However, there are no qualified withdrawals. Non-qualified withdrawals are subject to income tax. In other words, it is not first for education, then you have to pay tax. There's no limit on the account size. And the owner controls the assets, and you can change beneficiaries. In other words, you set up in a saving account, but you can decide it's enough for Susie, you can have it for Mary, it's enough for Mary, it can be Johnny. But this too is included in the student's needs. And you can say, well, why the student's needs if it's not in the student's name? Because when a student goes to get financial aid, they want to look at the parent's assets as well. That's why. And then we have merit aid, as well as potentially other sorts of aid. So a merit aid is essentially awarded to exceptional students. And this requires high SAT scores, high PSAT scores in high school and junior school, high school. It probably also requires a very good GPA when you graduate. In Florida, they have this thing called Bright Futures, which is roughly $3,000 a year if you're in state. If you leave the state, sorry, you have to qualify for a different merit. Rarely does this ever enough to college cover all the college costs. And there are certain programs that will help your children get these awards. If there's no guarantees, or people can help you fill out these application forms. And if your child knows how to play golf or football or baseball really well, maybe you can get a scholarship, a sports scholarship. We don't know. And the other thing we have in Florida, we have the Florida Prepaid College Plan. Now, this is essentially a contract between you, the parent, and the state of Florida. The full tuition guarantee is limited to Florida state schools only for the fulfillment of the contract. So if your child does not go to school in the state of Florida, and you open this up in the state of Florida, you cannot use this for college tuition outside. I happen to know a family that moved to California. In California, they do not have these prepaid plans. Their daughter has a prepaid plan in Florida, and they can't use it for her education. Now, here, if the child does not go to school, you can get the money back, but you'll get the money back basically with the standard rate that they say, the prime rate, whatever is available. And here again, the tuitions, the withdrawals that are used, they're totally free of tax if you use it for tuition, which most probably you would be using it for tuition. Now, here's a funny thing which many people do not know. If the state of Florida cannot fulfill the contract, they're only subject to return the investment at a nominal rate. Did you know that? Many people did not know that. There's no guarantee that they will give your child full tuition. They gave themselves an out. I'll show you in a while. The odds of the state of Florida canceling this prepaid college program, I don't think any senator, governor, representative would be too likely to be reelected, or I cannot imagine the trouble that would be going on if somebody would decide to cancel this program and just return people their money. However, the state has reserved itself the right. Now, the account owner, you as a parent, you can change the beneficiary. Susie doesn't go to school? Okay, give it to Mary. Mary didn't go to school? Give it to Johnny. Well, guess what? None of your kids go to school. Well, you can give it to a neighbor as well. Now, in this place, again, the money that's in there is available to, is measured with whatever's in there for the child's financial aid programs. However, basically, we're not going to have that problem to get out, and there's no subject to risk. That's a mistake down there. Subject to market volatility. It's not subject. It's a contract you make. So this is in the contract signed. It's called in Section 11.09, discontinuation of the program. It says here, in the event that the state of Florida determines the program to be financially infeasible, the state may discontinue the program. Any beneficiary who has been accepted by and is enrolled or is within 5 years of enrollment in an eligible independent college or university or state post-secondary institution may be entitled to exercise the complete benefits for which he is contracted. So if you're 5 years before starting college, in other words, essentially if you're 12 or 13, you have no problem. If you're 7 or 8, you got a problem. All other contract holders should receive a refund of the amount paid in and an additional amount in the nature of interest at a rate that corresponds at a minimum to prevailing interest for savings accounts and banks and loans and things like that. I hope they don't use the current savings accounts because we all know how much we get paid in savings accounts. To give you an idea, this is in October last year. By the way, it's what they call open enrollment. You can't sign up all the time. You can only sign up at a period of time, which is around October. So this is from October 2016. and it tells you what the monthly payments for a child would be for this college prepay. The child born in that month, not even 1 year old, an infant, would be $191. If it's a year old, $198. And it all goes up to, if you're in the 11th grade, it's $1,469 a month times 12. That's whatever it's going to be, that's what you're going to pay to get your tuition paid for. Please note, this is for tuition only and does not include room and board. Sometimes room and board is more expensive. I want you to look at this number here, $267.13. That's for a second grader. And the reason I want you to look at that is because this is what the plan effectively looked like last year. You go in there, you look at a Florida school, you put in the child's birthday. I don't know why, but I chose March 3rd. And it tells me the child should be in second grade. And it tells you when they expect the child to coming out, to be getting out, and it then gives you what the payment plans would be. If you pay on a monthly basis, if you noticed earlier, I said it was a second grader. Here it is, $267.13. There it is, $267.13. If you want to pay it off in 5 years as compared to second to 11th grade, the end of 11th grade, you could be $500 a month. And if you want to do a lump sum and be done with it, it'd be $29,000. You never have to pay another penny. You pay it all up front right now. Those are the choices you have. And believe it or not, they also have a plan for room and board for 2 years and 4 years. I don't advise buying those plans today because when the child decides not to go to stay in a dorm, we just don't know right now. Many kids like to live off campus, so I would question that, but it is an opportunity as well. What I must tell you is that the dorms, the room and board, is more expensive than the tuition. Okay, then we have something called insurance-based college funding. Essentially, earnings comes from a guaranteed interest rate as well as dividends that are paid by a mutual company. Take out a policy. The policy owner can change the beneficiary at any time. Specific payouts and time frames can be determined the moment you take out the policy. All funds in that policy are protected, that contract are protected from creditors, and any funds within that kind of a program are not included in the student's needs-based financial aid. It's just simply out of there. It's just not visible to anybody. And the funds can be used in any way the owner of the policy, of the contract, decides that it's necessary. He can do whatever he wants. And heaven forbid, if the parent should pass, well, the child would then receive the best death benefit and would have his college guaranteed. So those are the choices. So now that we've gone through that, let's go over the facts again, very brief. Inflation's going up 3%. Tuition's gone up 5 to 6. State funding is becoming a little bit more difficult. Stock market, as you get close to graduation, it's a little bit more risky, depending on what happens. And cost of living is also going up. So I have one more question I'd like to ask you on my polling. Actually, I lost it, so don't worry about it. It's not a big issue. The question really was, would you like me to reach out with you? Would you like to reach out to me? And if you would, all you have to do is just simply send me an email. Here's my email. My name is Robert Bull. Here's my email, and my email address is fespa@hotmail.com. Fespa is F. And now I'm going to turn the camera on so I can say to everybody goodbye. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. This has been a fairly short webinar. That was my goal. I didn't want to go much more than 20 minutes. I think I went a little bit over. Gives you a rough overview of different options that there are available for college funding. So please, if you need to contact me, please feel comfortable to contact me. There's the email address right there. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to everybody. I thank you very much. And I'm now going to say goodbye. Thank you.